Here's to whiskey kisses with the peachy taste of sin.
It's whiskey time. Greetings, whiskey folk, and welcome back to Drinking Out Loud. I am your host, Adam Bradshaw, and today we're exploring the Scotch Malt Whisky Society of Canada's Outturn 150 for April of 2024. Yes, 150 Outturns. It is a landmark occasion, and we're celebrating with some absolutely stunning single malts. 7 stunning single malts. And yeah, it's a good time right now for the SMWS. I feel like it's the start of a new era. We have heard you. We understand. And I have passed on the message. I mentioned this at the live tastings this month. So at time of recording, it's Sunday morning. I'm about to have the third of our 3 live in-person Outturn tastings here at the Strath. So I've already tried all these whiskies twice now. And one of the things that I've mentioned in the introduction is that I have now been the quote-unquote local ambassador for the SMWS for what, 7-ish years. I've been presenting for around 8. And one of the things that I've always tried to make sure people know is that ambassador thing goes both ways. I'm the SMWS's ambassador to you guys, but just as importantly, and if not more importantly, I am our local members' ambassador to the SMWS. So if you guys have feedback, I always pass it on. And yeah, I mean, it's important. Like, whiskey is an important part of the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, but I think an equally important part of it is the society part of the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. And that is what we're doubling down on this year, and that is what we are putting a lot of effort into making more things happen for the SMWS. So, of course, this month that started already with our now monthly dinners. The first one went off without a hitch, and I've had the chef sign off on the fact that we can do them most months. Maybe not every month. I'm not sure if I've got that in me, but most months we will do an SMWS dinner here at the Strath, which was outstanding fun and incredible value actually as well when we did that on Friday. But we will be doing more SMWS events coming up soon, so stay tuned to your inbox for some really interesting things that you might not be expecting. But one of the other things that has come up a lot recently, of course, is the price. And price of whiskey has, in general, gone up. And the SMWS has not been exempt from that. However, we have passed that on to HQ, and Kelly and Rob have gone to bat for us with the headquarters in Scotland as well to try and negotiate some better pricing here in Canada. And I'm happy to say that will be happening soon. So, it'll be a few months until it trickles down from the import section. And there's, I don't want to go behind the scenes too much, but the pricing will especially get better here in BC, which is nice. But in the meantime, we are stepping up to the plate. The Strath is here because we know that we don't want to put the SMWS on pause whilst these new plans come to fruition. So in the meantime, we're slashing our own margins here at the Strath. So starting right now at Outturn 150, there will be a lower price model for the SMWS whiskies. So all of these are actually about 12% off of what they would have normally been. And that's in anticipation of the changes. We can't afford to do that forever here at the store. We are waiting on changes trickling down from top, but we didn't want to make you guys wait. So I'm happy to say that there are some wonderfully good bargains in this Outturn, and there will continue to be so for our members going forward. All right. So, with all that being said, I should also mention that if you're watching this video, I always say that on YouTube, these videos could last. They could outlive me. They could be on here for decades. If you're watching this video shortly after it launched, tickets are available right now for next month's Outturn here at the Strath. So if you want to come and taste these in person with me, you can on Thursday the 25th, and that will be our dinner. On Sunday the 28th of April as well, and then again on Thursday the 2nd of May. So 2 Thursdays and a Sunday. The first Thursday is the dinner coming up with Outturn 151. I should also mention that SMWS is going to be at the Highland Games. The Highland Games features the Whiskey School here in Victoria. And did you know the Highland Games have been happening in Victoria for longer than Canada has been a country, which is kind of wild. I think we're up to like 156th year or something around there. It's something like ridiculously high. So the Highland Games, a staple of the events calendar here in Victoria. Check out the games in general, but especially check out the Whiskey School. The SMWS will be having a class at the Whiskey School hosted by the one and only Lawrence Graham, which is going to be very exciting. I'll be sat in the audience fact-checking him as we go. Yeah, no. Also, I'm presenting a couple of other tastings there, and there's just a lot of great things going on at the Highland Games. You can get your tickets right now. Just Google Highland Games Victoria and then check out the tickets for the Whiskey School. And the tickets for the Whiskey School also include entry for the Highland Games in general, so it's an absolute bargain. We are planning something special on the Monday of the long weekend as well. So the Highland Games is the 18th and 19th of May. That's a Saturday, Sunday of the May long weekend. We are planning something whiskey-related special on the Monday, but as yet it is not 100% confirmed, so I don't want to have hard evidence on camera that I'm promising anything. But something will happen on that Monday. So on with the show, shall we? The first whiskey of the 150th SMWS Canada Outturn is this one, and it is Lemon and Lime Shortbread. We all noticed a fruity aroma on the nose neat. Descriptors included crispy green apples, mango and coconut smoothie, peach yogurt, lemon mousse, and orange drizzle cake. On the palate, it was sweet and malty, with butter icing, orange zest next to a warm vanilla malted milkshake, with a finish of gooseberry and apple jam. Following reduction, we found even more vanilla on the nose, and the fruits were now tangerines and papayas, plus an orange blossom citrus mojito. To taste, we enjoyed toasted coconut and lemon and lime shortbread, while delicate notes of savory oak, almond butter, and cinnamon added complexity and character. This is Distillery 35, edition 348. There's a popular one. 197 bottles came out of a second fill ex-bourbon barrel. After 10 years of maturation, it was distilled on the 28th of June 2012 in the Speyside region. And it came out at 59.3% ABV. Lovely. So, I should get myself a glass. All right. It's like, what am I doing? I'm having whiskey. Okay, Sunday morning. I'm not quite all there yet. So I really thought this was an excellent way to start off the tasting. I like this distillery. I actually posted a video just last week or the week before about this distillery. They finally have launched their official bottlings here in BC, and the only reason I really knew that I enjoyed this distillery is through the SMWS. So it's come full circle a second there. It's nice. Love this distillery. Love a 35. Yeah, it smells this morning, and this might just be because I've got breakfasty items on the mind. It smells like a what's it called? A morning glory muffin, is it? Like, you know, the breakfast, the healthy-ish muffins that you have at breakfast with like the bran and like raisins and carrots and walnuts and things in. but with like icing on it, like an unhealthy, healthy muffin. Mm. Yeah, it's got a lovely sort of malty breadiness underneath, but then it's just topped off with a whole nice array of various sort of sweet caramelly kind of flavors. Mm. Vanilla malted milkshakes. Yeah, vanilla definitely. Papaya and lemon and lime shortbread. Yeah, it's definitely got that layer thing going. You know, it starts off with the malty base. It's got like this like bourbon casky sort of vanilla coconut caramel kind of a layer, and then there is some like fruits peppered on top. It's like a yes, I guess it'd be like having like a really interesting like toast experience, you know, like a PB&J almost. But imagine instead of peanut butter, if it was like a vanilla spread, and then instead of jam, it was like well, instead of strawberry jam, it was like tropical jam, all on like a multi loaf, but not malt loaf. Malt loaf's different. A multi loaf. Oh, that's nice. We're not talking Saurine's malt loaf. It's not deep and dark like that. All right. Mm. So our trivia today, in light of the whole 150th anniversary of it all, it's 150th Outturn. I decided to look at trivia of where distilleries started and where they are today. So we're going to talk about the year that the distillery was founded and then how much they make today, how big they've gotten, how much they've grown. And to put that into perspective, so how much they've grown is measured in their capacity in litres of pure alcohol. So if you want to talk about how many bottles that is, first of all, we're talking litres of pure alcohol. And an average bottle is probably, if you take into account most are in the 40s and then there's some cash strength bottlings, you probably need to roughly divide it by two at least, maybe a bit more, and then you really have to make it times it by two, and then you have to times it by two a little bit more, not two, times it by a little bit more to make a bottle. So 1 million liters of alcohol is probably equivalent to about 2.5 million bottles, roughly, very, very roughly. I didn't really do the math. I'm just estimating very roughly. But to put that into perspective, the smallest distillery in Scotland right now is Moffat. Moffat Distillery makes about 12,000 litres of alcohol per year. And if you've never heard of Moffat, fair. I haven't either. I assume it's a brand new, really small craft distillery somewhere. If you're talking about traditional distilleries that have been around for at least 20, 30 years, then the smallest is Edradour at 260,000 litres a year. To put it into perspective, on the other end of the spectrum, the top three, in third place, Macallan with 15 million litres a year, and then in joint first, Glenfiddich and Glenlivet, both at 21 million litres of pure alcohol a year. And if you're wondering where I'm getting these very specific stats, well, I'm getting them, of course, from the Malt Whisky Yearbook 2024. This is an annual book that comes out every single year. I've been collecting them for about a decade now. I love these books, and I very much recommend them to anyone who just wants really interesting stats and history about malt distilleries, not just in Scotland, but all around the world. So, for example, there's a page on Glengarry. As you can see, it gives you a timeline of things that have happened, a write-up about the style and the history, and then stats as well. And then in stats, it includes the year it was founded and the capacity. And even a website and a phone number, funnily enough. I love that it includes the phone number for the distillery still. I keep thinking I should just randomly cold call a bunch of distilleries. I just call Macallan and be like, hey, Macallan, which their phone number, by the way, is 01340 and just like ask them for a cask at a cheap price and see what happens. Whiskey crank calls. It'd be kind of funny. But yeah, they have all kinds of interesting stuff on new distilleries as well. There's Ardnahoe and Ballinadaloch and Ardnamurchan. But yeah, great book. Comes out every year. And an extra special shout out to a local person who's featured in this book every year. See if I can find the page. Here it is. Every year there's a page on whiskey and social media where the author lists a bunch of really good ones and also asterisks their personal favorite, including, of course, whiskyintelligence.com from our very own local legend, Lawrence Graham. And if you haven't checked out whiskyintelligence.com, great place for press releases and on the pulse of what is happening around the world in whiskey right now, up-to-date information. always great stuff there. So yeah, all the information today comes from the Malt Whiskey Yearbook. So this first distillery has a capacity of 8.5 million litres, and it became a distillery in 1897, but the site was originally a brewery that was called Elgin West. And it is, of course, Glenmoray. Or Glenmurray, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I still haven't heard an official word. I've heard Scottish people pronounce it both ways, and as far as I can tell, it entirely comes down to accent. But yeah, this Glenmoray Murray can be yours for $198.17. And that is available right now at strathliquor.com/SMWS. And of course, as always is the case, it's in short supply. Even more so seeing as we're doing 3 Outturn tastings this month. There's a lot of people who had an advance notice on this bottle, so it might be gone by the time you're seeing this. Might not be. Always worth checking. But if it is, don't fear, you can always check out smws.ca to see if it's available at one of our partner stores across Canada. And you can see those at Legacy in Vancouver, of course. And if you happen to be visiting Alberta, pop into our friends at Keg and Cork in Edmonton and Kensington Wine Market in Calgary. Plus, the most recent addition to the SMWS family here in Canada, Arc in Kelowna, who don't get every Outturn, but I'm sure are building up to it. But yeah, always good to see what Arc's got going on as well. I haven't tried it with water yet. And I've lost my pipette. I need to go find some pipettes. I know there's a box in the maple room, but I'm being lazy, so I'm just going to do the old school accidental overpour thing. All right. Yeah. Not massively different. A few darker notes. I'm getting a little bit of like a mocha coffee thing going on with water. I like it at full strength. I don't think it's particularly aggressive. 59 sounds like it could be, but honestly, it drinks really easily at cast strength. But yeah, always experiment with a bit of water though if you've got the time and you've got the energy. But I don't have the time. I've got a tasting to set up this afternoon, so I've got to storm on to the next whiskey. And whiskey number 2 today is, what do we got? Oh, Say It With Flowers. We were presented with a stunning arrangement of coconut and almond white chocolate truffles combined with a bouquet of flowers. On the palate, it was smooth and silky at first, like a vanilla yogurt with fresh fruits, nuts, and a sprinkle of mint, followed by a big hit of aniseed spice before moving nicely into fragrant rosewater territory. Water added malted milk biscuits and fudge on the nose, whilst the taste was that of salted caramel and sugar-coated cashew nuts. In the long finish, we had an interesting combination of cinnamon swirls and Battenberg cake next to a lemon and lime and chili sorbet. And as I'm reading this, I'm realizing that I'm surprised that no one asked me what a Battenberg cake was at the live tastings. For those of you who might not be familiar, it is a very geometrically pleasing cake. It is a square prism style presentation that is checkered. Usually pink and yellow. So you have a yellow square, a pink square, a yellow square. And it tastes like it's what's that stuff? Marzipan. It's a marzipan-based cake. It's very pleasant. If you like marzipan. If you don't, it's horrible. Anyway, say it with flowers. Or say it with whiskey. Or say it with whiskey called Say It With Flowers. Perfect gift. This is Distillery 46. It is edition 140. An outturn of 156 bottles came in from a first fill ex-bourbon barrel that was matured for 12 years, distilled on 9th of March 2010 in the Speyside region, and came out at 59.2% alcohol. Wasn't the last one 59 point something as well? We just 59.3. We've dropped in alcohol content, but only by 0.1%. That's wild. All right, so really like this one. A few people found this to be an interesting choice for number 2. A few people thought that it was maybe a little strong flavored, especially going into the next one, which number 3 is quite sweet. Whereas this one had a few more sort of like, bittery herbal kind of notes. I thought it fitted really well in this slot, to be honest. Yeah, I definitely got mint on the nose the first time around. Herbal is definitely the side of the coin that is landing on for me. And yeah, and third time's the charm. I'm still getting those herbal notes first and foremost. Almond, absolutely. I'm not really getting the white chocolate thing. Yeah, white chocolate truffles. I'm not really getting the white chocolate, but I'm definitely getting like an almond paste, which ties into the whole Battenberg thing, I guess. But again, this beautiful sort of malty biscuity thing that it shares in common with whiskey number one today. Mm, that is very nice. It's almost like Biscoff. You know the God what country is Biscoff from? They're everywhere in Europe. You probably know what I mean. They're little like brown rectangular cookies that you generally get if you go to a cafe in like France or Belgium or Italy or again like anywhere. I think they're made by Lotus. Um, you can actually buy a spread that is just like them ground up into a paste that you can put on toast. I actually saw that at Costco the other day. Yeah, tastes like Biscoff. Mm. Yeah, cinnamon, a little bit of cardamom. Yeah, like Biscoff with herbs. That's delightful. All right, so this distillery was founded in 1876 by John Duff, a former manager of Glendronach, and today it has a capacity of 3.7 million litres per annum. So, yeah, less than half of Glenmoray. Any ideas? No? Well, that's fair. This trivia is not designed to help you guess, but is designed to make you think about where it started and where it is now. This is a distillery that we have fairly often here at the SMWS. It's quite popular. It is a Glenlossie. All right. Yeah. I think I like this more today than I did at the live tastings. I feel like this is a slightly more a whiskey that fits more into a quiet, contemplative situation rather than a blustery, boisterous room full of whiskey enthusiasts all like talking loudly. Yeah, this fits the mood. This is a nicer experience drinking it alone in a studio than not. It feels really antisocial. I love being around people, but some whiskies suit that atmosphere more than others, I feel, and this is more of a quiet, contemplative whiskey. All right, and if you would like a bottle of this quiet, contemplative whiskey, say it with flowers, you can get one right now at strathliquor.com/SMWS. It is $209.48 is the price, $209.48. All right. Next up, we have a whiskey with a name that references something that most Canadians are unaware exists. However, I did learn, thanks to our member Christian Morin, that French Canadians are more likely to know this one, because apparently this song is based on a French song from the 70s. But if you've never heard Agadoo, which is an absolute classic hit from the UK, from the 80s, I think, it's played at basically every celebration. If you've got a wedding and you don't have Agadoo on the playlist, you will be blacklisted from British culture. Hell, I've even been to a funeral with it. Every single high school disco, primary school disco, any disco of any kind will always have Agadoo, and it's got a dance. It's Agadoo, do, push pineapple. Hang on. Shake a tree. I'm forgetting the moves. And then Agadoo, do, push pineapple, grind coffee. Yeah. Anyway, this is a reference to that. This is push pineapple, shake a bee. In a honey-infused tropical fantasy, fuzzy little bees hurried back to the hive with pineapples, vanilla pods, and apples to make their ever-popular apple chutney and pineapple candy floss. Also in the hive were hordes of honeydew melons, guavas, and waxed lemons, while from the kitchen came wafts of warm marmalade and peach ice cream. With a dash of water, we ventured deeper into the hive, pressing creme brulee topped with cinnamon coconut sponge cake, and a very special whipped cream with honey. All of a sudden, the tea time buzz sounded, and bees took a well-earned break with chilled cream soda, chocolate macaroons, and Earl Grey tea with nothing other than luscious heather honey. One of the wilder tasting notes that we've had. This is a gorgeous whiskey. I really enjoyed this one, and it had a particular tasting note. I can't remember who it was. I can't remember who to give credit to, but someone mentioned on the Thursday Outturn that it reminded them of a particular brand of yogurt that is made here on the island, Tree Island, made up in Courtney. And they have a coconut yogurt, and it tastes exactly like this. And it made me long for that. I actually went to the supermarket on my walk home after that tasting just to buy some. And yeah, it really, really does. It absolutely nailed it. If you're a fan of Tree Island coconut yogurt, and if you've never heard of that, and you're a fan of local yogurt, trust me, it's amazing. This whiskey tastes a little bit like it. But anyway, this is Distillery 39.284. They got 180 bottles out of this one from a first built ex-bourbon barrel that was matured for 11 years. It was distilled on the 5th of December 2011 in the Speyside region and came out at 62.1. A little higher than the last couple. That's all right. Yeah, it's that pineapple coconut thing, and it does have a sort of a honeyness. And a few people, especially at the dinner tasting on Friday, found this to be just a touch sweeter than they would have preferred in a whiskey. And other people thought, "Where has this whiskey been in my life? This is exactly what I'm looking for." So if you do like whiskies on the sweeter side, this is probably up your alley. And if you tend to be averse to those, maybe pick something else this month. That's fine. But yeah, lovely this one. Yeah, Tree Island coconut yogurt right there with some chunks of tinned pineapple mixed over. And peaches, actually, tinned peaches. I really like this. Weird though, because I realized after reading all of the notes again that just now that the first two whiskies both actually have yogurt. I don't know how I pronounce things anymore. I've been away from the UK so long that like my vocabulary is morphed. I think I naturally in my natural accent say yogurt, but now I say yogurt. Or is it the other way around? I don't know. Either way, yogurt or yogurt, either one. The first two whiskies both mention that in the tasting notes, and now the third one, which I think more strongly tastes like yogurt, wasn't in the tasting notes, which I find kind of interesting. Yeah, it's weird, like having a vocabulary morph because it happens more with words that you use more often. So as a result, my car has it has a hood. No, it doesn't have a hood. It has a bonnet because I don't use the bonnet very often. But it has a trunk. So instead of a bonnet and a boot or a hood and a trunk, it has a bonnet and a trunk, which yeah. So even my car is all mixed up. Anyway, every so often I'll switch back to saying putting something in a boot, and my partner will look at me as if I'm trying to put something in a shoe. Anyway, Distillery 39. Lovely distillery. It was opened in 1821 by a Peter Brown. It was then demolished in 1872 by his son William. I can only assume they asked permission first. Today, it has an output of 5.6 million litres per annum, so about halfway in between Glenlossie and Glenmoray. And it's, we already know it's a Speyside. This is a Linkwood, a lovely little Linkwood. Diageo owned, very rare to find as a single malt these days over here in Canada, but luckily we've got people like the SMWS coming to our aid and letting us enjoy Linkwood the way it is best enjoyed. It's great in blends, don't get me wrong. Love Linkwood in something like a Johnny Walker Green Label, for example, but it's better on its own. It's just so rich and flavorful, Linkwood. I can see why the blending market likes it, because you don't need to add much to impact the blend, but it's a thing of beauty on its own. And a thing of beauty that you can pick up right now online, strathliquor.com. It is $2.11.22 for a bottle. $2.11.22. All right, we move on to our next whiskey, which is a Bramble Ramble. And yes, you do have to roll your R's. It is an important part of the experience. Say it all with me now. Bramble Ramble. Initial nosing suggested aromatic and herbaceous scents such as wintergreen, lemongrass, and dried herbs, then citronella waxes, cinnamon sugar, mulling spices, and aged ruby ales. In time, we also found the richness of brown bread, spread with treacle. Some water revealed elegant notes of heather flowers, sultanas, pine cones, and blackcurrant cordial. The neat palate opened with rich tones of camphor, heather, shilling beers, waxes, and salted licorice, plus a splash of mineral oil and boot polish. Water brought bramble wine, sugared cashew nuts, lemon bonbons, and an earthy hint of turmeric. Robust and delicious, we agreed. This was matured for 11 years in a bourbon hogshead before being transferred into a first fill Spanish oak Oloroso hogshead. So we've got some finishing going on here, and it's wonderful when the SMWS does that because it gives us an opportunity, yes, to have some more sherry cask whiskies, which is very popular and as it should be. It's a great style of whiskey, but also in my mind, I really enjoy whiskies that have spent time in more than one cask. I think it's an interesting way of having a single cask experience and having a cask strength, unique experience of individuality, whilst also bringing in flavor from more than one place. It's like a mini blend in a sense. I love it when you get the classic bourbon notes mixed with the classic sherry notes. I think it is not a detractor. I think it's an addition. Anyway, ramble, and I. So when I said the name Ramble and said you have to roll your R's as part of the experience, I was getting I was getting little sort of notes in the back of my head. There's a fantastic social media person, Miss what's her name? Punny Penny, Miss Punny Penny, I think it is. Um, Man, I'm so bad at remembering names. I'll put a link to her in the comments if I remember. She does. She's a poet from Scotland who does little daily blogs of pronunciation guides and translations for Scots words. So she'll say a word that is like in Scots English. So it's not a different language, but it's just a different set of lingo. Like ken, for example, in Scotland, you don't say "Do you know someone?" You say "Do you ken someone?" And she has this whole thing every single time when she does it. She'll say. Say it again, one more time. Doesn't even matter if you didn't get it right the first time. I was like, oh, I just kind of wanted to weave that in there somewhere. But yeah, Miss Punny Penny. I'm fairly sure that's her name. Fantastic concept. Anyway. Oh, and while I'm on thanking, I keep forgetting, if you saw the intro to this video at the very beginning when I said it's whiskey time, you'll notice I have a clapper board now. So thank you very much, my lovely clapper board back here. Thank you to Simon from the maintenance department at the Strath Hotel. And also, while I'm at it, you might notice that Jeff's incredible sign that he made for me now has a little cradle, which was also made by the maintenance department. I believe that was Kurt from the maintenance department made that for me. So thanks, guys. Much appreciated. Unfortunately, neither of them really like whiskey that much, so I couldn't bribe them too hard. But they do like beer. Maybe I'll buy them a 6-pack. Anyway, ramble. I've rambled far too long. It's time for some ramble now. Doesn't even matter if you didn't get it right the first time. Oh, I love it. Oh, yeah, outstanding nose. A lot of fans of this whiskey at the Outturn. Rich, robust, complex dram. All right, so this is Distillery 68. It is edition 106, an outturn of 260 bottles coming from that first fill Oloroso hogshead that was previously in an ex-bourbon hogshead. It's from the Highland region this time, and it was aged for 14 years, distilled on the 22nd of February 2008, and came out at 55.1. So a little bit more age, a little bit more flavor. It's a big punchy whiskey to finish off. This was the whiskey number 4 in the live tastings as well, so it was the last whiskey of the front row, and we were heading into some full flavor straight off the bat there. Deep, rich, and dried fruits, exactly how I'd categorize this. And yeah, I mean, it's got that classic mix of both casks, and as I'm saying, I think that's a wonderful thing. Blackcurrant cordial is really jumping out at me today. It tastes a little bit like it's not Ribena. What's the other one? The one that actually has like herbs and things in it. That's really popular in the Middle East. Vimto. It's got a little Vimto note to it, which I really enjoy. I love Vimto. I wonder if you can get Vimto over here. I know you can get Ribena in Canada. I'm not sure if you can get Vimto. Probably some import stores. Yeah. Herbal, lemongrass, absolutely. Cinnamon, absolutely. Licorice, yeah, I could see that kind of going on. The nuttiness is what really jumps out at me, though. And it mentions sugared cashew nuts. I'm not sure. I'm getting more pecans than cashews, but I see where they're going. It does have a butteriness to it as well, which often comes hand in hand with cashews. It's kind of a richer, butterier nut. Technically not a nut, actually. It's a seed, but... Have you ever seen how cashews grow? Weird looking. It's like each little cashew comes dangling on the bottom of what's called a cashew apple. Seems very wasteful, but apparently apples are used for like animal feed. So, yeah. All right. So, Distillery 68. It was started in 1798, so it's a really old one. It started off as under the name Aldauer by John Stewart. And even though it's been going for quite a long time now, it is only reached a capacity of 2.8 million. So it's not a very big distillery by any stretch of the imagination, but it is an absolutely beautiful distillery, not just in terms of the beautiful whiskey that it produces, but also in terms of how stunning the building is. Yeah, there's a photo up right now. Blair Athol. Gorgeous, gorgeous whiskey from Blair Athol. And if you want to pick up a 14-year-old single cask Oloroso finished Blair Athol, you can right now for $245.13 while stocks last at strathliquor.com/SMWS, Scotch Malt Whisky Society. All right. And we have a double header of deep rich and dried fruits. For next is the epically named Garbanzo's Cajun Train Ride. And before I put the screen up here, I didn't really know what to put up for the screen, for the teaser screen on the name here, so I got AI to do it for me. So I'm sorry for the horrifying sight that you're about to witness. Garbanzo's Cajun Train Ride. We began our journey in a sooty and treacly old train carriage with worn leather seating and corduroy curtains. As we as we worked to corduroy curtain sounds awful. As we worked towards the buffet carriage, we snacked on a mild chili pepper. The heat didn't linger, instead leaving a grape and black cherry juice. Introducing water brought an aroma of Cajun seasoned French fries, almonds, and sweet Spanish onions atop poutine. Wintergreen and peppermint offered a refreshing coolness to the palate, usurped shortly after by turmeric roasted garbanzo beans, dried mangoes, apple, and cinnamon. And this is the Giving Spirit bottle for this season. So 100% of SMWS Canada's profits from the sales of this bottle will go to the Ocean Cleanup Project, which is a project dedicated to ridding the ocean of plastic. A very noble cause indeed. All right, Garbanzo's Cajun Train Ride. Love this whiskey, love the name, love everything about this. Can't wait to have it again. I'm having this twice today because that's just the way the cookie crumbles. It's a good day when you have to, a great day when you can have Garbanzo's Cajun Train Ride twice. Oh, yeah. Beautiful sherry whiskey. So this one is a second fill Oloroso, but for the entire maturation. So slightly different in style to the Bramble Ramble. Feels a little bit more, not mellow, but maybe slightly more well integrated. The flavors have got to know each other a little more, which is strange because it's actually younger. It's only 9 years old. But yeah, this is 78.65 is the cask number. It's another Highland. It was distilled on the 5th of November. Remember the 5th of November. In 2013, aged for 9 years. And they got 529 bottles out of that second fill Oloroso butt. And of course, being a butt will also change the maturation as well, because there's less surface area to liquid ratio. So that's going to change things. But also, it came out at 67.7%, which is definitely going to affect things. And water is not necessary for this. You can drink it at 67.7, but I'm definitely going to be adding some water. You'll notice I forgot with the Bramble Ramble there, but Garbanzo is a thirsty beast. Oh, so much flavor. A little bit more focused, a little bit more linear, but definitely not quieter. Yeah, it's like prunes soaked in slivovitz. Which is like a plum brandy. I think it's plum. Slivovitz is plum, right? Yeah. Not something I get to have very often. My first experience with slivovitz actually was my dad, who was an Anglican vicar, retired now. When I was younger, during the war in Bosnia, he and a friend took a bus, like a short bus, like a school bus size thing, drove it all the way to Bosnia, filled it with refugees, and brought them back to where we were living at the time, a little place called New Waltham near Cleethorpes. And yeah, we just brought a bus full of refugees out of the war, and one of them brought with them a whole bunch of homemade slivovitz, which I don't think is a particularly common thing there, but I can't remember where slivovitz is actually from now. I remember them saying it's not actually traditional to them or anything. But yeah, I was like 5 at the time, and I still have strong memories of this ridiculous liquid. The only reason I know it's Slivovitz now is from hearing family stories. Like my sister is 10 years older than me, and she remembers it strongly too, and she, I assume, drunk a little bit more than I did. Yeah. Anyway, Slivovitz tastes a little bit like prunes and plums and all kinds of things soaked in Slivovitz brandy. Mm. Mm. Oh, that's quite something. The mintiness as well. Yeah. It reminds me of a whiskey I had recently that I don't think, allowed to mention yet because it hasn't been released or revealed or even bottled. There's a very special whiskey with a very special tie to one of our local members that's reminded me of Eastern European liqueurs, actually. This one has a bit of a hint of that kind of flavor profile. He was actually at the dinner last night, or Friday night. Mm. All right, Garbanzo's Cajun Train Ride. It is from a distillery that was founded in 1825 by Long John MacDonald, which sounds like a pirate. Maybe he was. I don't know. I didn't get into his personal life, but professionally, he made whiskey. And today, it has a capacity of 2 million litres per annum, so the smallest one we've had so far, even smaller than Blair Athol. It is Ben Nevis. And I do love me a Ben Nevis. Of course, famously owned by Nika, I believe the first distillery in Scotland to become Japanese owned, and a lot of it still is used by Nika for their world whiskey blends. Yeah, lovely whiskey. And a whiskey that you can pick up right now. This one probably is in pretty short supply. It was really popular at the first two tastings. It's 209.48 for this quite wonderful second fill Oloroso Ben Nevis. 209.48. And we move on next to some peated whiskey. And please forgive my pronunciation. This is Poudin Chaumer, I think, at the Shack. This is a good one. Opening the door of the shack, we were met with the smell of burning wood in the fireplace, burnt sugar, and a plate of smoked maple syrup cured bacon. Seated around the shack, we shared a piece of maple pudding cake with a coffee spiked with spiced rum. Water toned down the smoke and let the sugary sweetness shine through. Maple syrup and vanilla cake were back on the menu. Burnt toast with cream, cheese, and a dusting of ashes, and then smoked salmon with a smoky hickory glaze. This spent 6 years in an ex-bourbon hogshead before being transferred into an American oak Oloroso hogshead, and it was a cask selected by, and the bottle was named, and the tasting notes were written by, it just keeps going, Canadian member Matthew Dureau for the Gathering 2023, and the bottle even has a picture of Matthew on it, which I have to say I'm a little bit put off by. Not put like I'm really glad that. That Matthew got his photo on here, but I did the tasting notes and the name for the last whiskey at the Gathering last year. I didn't get my face on it. What's wrong with my face, guys? Is it? Oh, I get there's too much shine on the head. It would look weird on a label. Yeah, okay, that's fair. Anyway, congratulations to Matthew. He, of course, won the competition that was run last year for an SMWS member from Canada to visit the vaults and take part in the Gathering celebration. And in fact, the screen that you saw at the beginning of this tasting as well, which I'll pop up right now, actually. Hopefully I remember once this reaches the editing room. This shows all of the members from around the world that visited and chose their casks, waving their little flags. It's great. Yeah, wonderful little whiskey. And it is 53.456. So yeah, there's we've had a few 53s. Definitely a common one in the SMWS, and for good reason. It's very popular still. It's from Islay. It is aged for 9 years in that combination of two casks, starting off on ex-bourbon, finishing in first fill Oloroso American Oak. Distilled on the 3rd of April 2013, and they got an outturn of 295 bottles, coming out at 57.9. And I'm saying this all right now, and I just noticed out of the corner of my eye that glass of water, which I don't think I actually ended up adding any to the Garbanzo's Cajun Train Ride. So I'm sorry, quick rewind. Garbanzo with water, it does calm it down a bit, and I talked about it with water, but I didn't actually do it, and I feel really bad. I'm so bad at remembering not just to add water to whiskey, but drink water in general. I'm tragically underhydrated at all times. Yeah, Garbanzo works well with a little touch of water. Calms him down. He's a little more zen. He doesn't do that thing. What's that? What's that movie where don't give water or feed the gremlins or something after a certain time? You don't need to worry about Garbanzo. He's all right. Anyway, back to the task at hand, putting Chameur. And I'm glad I did that right then, because it would have been weird trying to go back to Garbanzo after tasting this one again, because this is a ride. And yeah, I've never had pudding Chameur, but from what I understand, it seems really, really similar to the British treacle sponge pudding. It's I mean it's basically sugars and syrups into a sponge cake that's served warm, from what I understand, and I kind of get a powerful suggestion, but I do kind of get that on the nose, but it still smells very Kalila-y. It's like having treacle sponge cake, but the person next to you is also having bacon wrapped scallops, and you're sat next to the ocean. Oh, stunning whiskey on the nose. This is a beautiful bottling, and I'm very happy that that Matthew got to got to pick out such an incredible cask for us. All right. So here's where my notes are incomplete. I put the first two numbers of the year that this distillery was founded. And you'd think by now, this is the third time doing this, I would have remembered to actually just write them down. But instead, this is what happened live at the first two, and it's happening again now. I'm going to consult the Malt Whisky Yearbook in real time, find the distillery, and get it straight from the horse's mouth. This distillery was founded in 1846, and actually, I'm going to grab a pen and put that in the book right now, so this afternoon I don't have to look it up again. 1846 distillery was founded by Hector Henderson. I'm going to write that down too. Hector Henderson. Thank you, Hector. And these days, it has a capacity of 6.5 million litres per year. And that's an interesting number, because it is by far and away the biggest on Islay. But, to put that into account with other distilleries that we've had today, 6.5 is less than Glenmoray. So Glenmoray, which is not often thought of as a massive distillery, you know, they have official bottlings, they've been used in blends, is 2 million litres bigger than the biggest distillery on all of Islay, which is kind of strange. Like Kalila, biggest distillery on Islay, is about a quarter of the size of Glenfiddich. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I always thought of Kalila as this massive whiskey factory, but it just is compared to everything else around it, I guess. Yeah. We've been really lucky with sherry cask Islay whiskies of late. We've had a whole slew, not just from Kalila, but I think the last couple of Lafroigs that we had, which I don't think we're getting anymore, by the way. A couple of those were sherry casks. We had some sherry cask Bowmore. We've had some sherry cask Boonahaven recently as well, and they've all been absolutely outstanding. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy that they just keep coming. Peat and sherry, when done well, just is a beautiful combination, and this is an example of it. Not just done well, but done very, very well. Yeah, Kalila, it makes me happy. Wait, that's not a song. That's tequila. It makes me happy, but Kalila makes me happier. I mean, I like tequila, but yeah, Kalila makes me happier. Yeah, so this is available right now, strathliquor.com/SMWS for $229.48. $229.48. Gorgeous. All right, and we move on to our final malt of the month. We are moving on to a Flashing Blade. No messing about here. Immediate notes of pickled gherkins in brine, elastoplasts, tar extracts, barbecue glazed pork ribs, peat fire embers in a cast iron hearth, and green olive tapenade on salted flatbread. A brilliant peat-dominated distillate. With water we found carbolic acidity, hot mash water, and smoky grist, touring a distillery in full peaty production mode. Also malt vinegar doused oysters and smoked lemons. The palate was pure seawater and lemon juice at first, before a big splurge of petrol, mineral salts, engine oils, and touches of camphor and paraffin. With water, there was some more complexity emerging, with aniseed distillate, mercurochrome, and suggestions of paraffin, TCP, horseradish, and soy sauce. All right, this is Distillery 144.4. Yeah, it's a newer one. It's a second time having it here in Canada. It is from Sweden. This is a first fill ex-bourbon barrel that was aged for 7 years, distilled on the 15th of May 2014, an outturn of 215 bottles and an ABV of 60.8. This is a fun one. We don't get Swedish whiskey very often. And in fact, I've only ever had it from one distillery, I think. I've had a couple of Swiss whiskies, though. It's always interesting getting whiskies from like mainland Europe. There's some fun ones. I actually picked up a couple of bottles of Belgian whiskey when I was there last year. So my lasting memory of this is one whiskey which I actually heavily preferred with water. So I'm going to take a sip right now just to reprime, but salt and vinegar chips. That was my big takeaway pre-water. I'm going to have a bit more whiskey so I don't accidentally drown it with water, because I'm not as precise as I am with a pipette. All right. But my big takeaway with water... Let's see if it does it again today. Yeah. Water makes this weirdly Lafroigian. Has that iodine TCP thing that it mentioned in the tasting notes. Yeah. It's like Lafroig, but with less smoke. It's like older Lafroig. Still has those iodine notes, but doesn't have the smokiness as much. Very, very peat-forward whiskey, don't get me wrong, but it's more of the other flavors that come along with peat and less of the raw actual smoke, which is what was more dominant in the Kalila, I would say. This is a really interesting, heavily peated, but not heavily smoky whiskey. Yeah. Really, really fun one. Anything else I should really mention? It's just a cool whiskey. It's one of the things I really enjoy with the SMWS is getting to try whiskies that I wouldn't necessarily otherwise get to try. I mean, I wouldn't get to try any of them because they're all beautifully individual and unique, but distilleries as well that I wouldn't necessarily get to try. This distillery has literally never been available in, I think, all of Canada outside the SMWS. It's definitely the case in BC. I haven't seen anything from this distillery from any other company. But yeah, and it's a small distillery. Like, they started in 2010, and they've grown a little bit in that time. But even now, they only produce 300,000 liters per year of alcohol, which is quite similar. It's a little bit bigger than Edredauer. A little bit bigger than Edredauer. And it's the biggest in the whole country, which is interesting. This is High Coast. It used to be called Box, but they changed their name. There's some rumor that Compass Box asked them to. I don't know if that's actually true or not. But yeah, either way, High Coast is a pretty cool name. However, it does also slightly feel like a name that it should be the name of a local weed store here in BC. It probably is, to be honest. There's probably a store called High Coast somewhere in BC. It just kind of makes sense. But also makes sense for a distillery in Sweden. Let's face it. Oh, lovely. And if you want to pick up this unique, beautiful, rare whiskey, you can pick up a bottle for $249.48. And we did only get one case of this, so there's very few. I assume there's only going to be one, maybe two available on the website. But yeah. It's a great whiskey. Thank you for joining us. This has been a wonderful Outturn. I mentioned all of the SMWS tastings coming up at the beginning of the show, but just to reiterate, Thursday, the 25th of April, we will have our next SMWS dinner here at the Strath, and then a tasting on Sunday, the 28th at 3 p.m, and that includes free entry to the live blues music afterwards as well. And then on Thursday, the 2nd of May, we'll have the final of our three. Again, the Highland Games coming up on the 18th and 19th of May. You can pick up tickets right now at Victoria Highland Games' website. And I should also mention there are a few tickets left to next week's tasting at the Dram Association, where we're doing a tournament of budget whiskies. So it's $20 to come along, try 8 whiskies, and we'll decide as a room which is the best under $50 whiskey. It's going to be fun. And if you're a Strath Premium member, you save $10. So it's actually $10 to come to that tasting. We also, of course, later on have this month's brand new whiskey showcase, so check out the Dram Association page at strathliquor.com for details on that. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you on the next episode. This has been your Outturn.
But I still rely on love, and as long as I remember, there's never been love. So I'll drink to those still with me, to those that no more. In the half light of morning, there I'll see you evermore. And I hear all sorts of voices, like the ones that never die. Just past the gas well.